Hello, everyone. Welcome to BizzTalk World talk show presented by ClickAway Creators. This is the second episode of our new podcast series with BizzTalk's Advisory Report. And today we'll be discussing on customer experience and marketing, adopting new pandemic strategies and the difference in developing, underdeveloped, and developed countries. And to discuss this, we cannot expect a better panel than having these great individuals with us. We have Nate Brown, who is the Chief Experience Officer for Official Labs. He's an author and can be found at a variety of conferences, speaking and training on the customer experience topics that he really loves. We have Olga Guseva with us. She's the Managing Director of Integria Consult and the only CXPA recognized trainer in Eastern Europe. She is also an author and a sporting leader. I say this with my experience, my own experience with her. Last but not the least, we have Dharmendra with us. He is the first person in the world to speak on TEDx on creativity and mind mapping. He is also an author. He's also honored with the Kotler Award in 2020. Current Prime Minister of India, Mr. Narendra Modi, is one of the earlier winners of the same. So I welcome everyone and thank you, for joining us for this session today. It's our proud to have you, and let's start the conversation right from here. So in our last podcast, everyone, we actually talked about the customer experience and marketing tactics, but this time the discussion will be more towards the very new change occurred due to the pandemic. And let's start with Nate. Let me put the ball in Nate's court. Nate, what do you think are basic changes that happened to customer experience after pandemic really banged us?
Yeah, I mean, if we look at the history of customer experience, which I love the Forrester definition, I mean, it's the thoughts and perceptions that people have towards a brand. So naturally, the psychology behind all this is going to change as people's mindset changes. So originally, customer experience was very much baked into the customer and customer service and marketing functions. And then it kind of grew its own legs, especially in the early 2000s as we went through that revelation that was sparked by CEB, Corporate Executive Board, with the effortless experience and this idea of convenience and reducing friction for customers. And we've kind of been in that mode and still in many ways considering that as the primary function of loyalty as we talk about CX. But as we look at this pandemic and how people's mind shifts have shifted very much, it's much more now about like safety and security. I mean, Simon Sinek talks so well about the circle of psychological safety that has to be there in order for us to serve inside of an organization or to be able to function inside of a tribe. And so we're looking for organizations, for brands, for products and services that can help restore the circle of psychological safety for us and for our families. So those brands that went above and beyond to demonstrate, I value you, I recognize your need for physical and mental safety, and I'm taking these precautions, I'm doing these things to ensure that you as a human being are protected, and that I'm making it as easy as possible for you to navigate this challenging time. We reciprocated to those brands with great loyalty, and many other organizations weren't able to make that shift and just kind of got lost, which is totally understandable. I mean, the incredible shift that had to happen inside of these organizations from almost a mode of babysitting people in their chairs to now these decentralized companies and having to accomplish remarkable things from a people and technology perspective to be able to work from home and so many other things that occurred during this shift. So I'm amazed at how many organizations were able to successfully navigate this time and ultimately be able to reciprocate to their customers in new and innovative ways.
That's beautiful. Olga, if we can have your words to start the conversation from your end as well.
Yeah. Just to build on what Nate have just said, recently I was participating in the ceremony of the European Customer Centricity Awards, and we had a very, I would say, insightful discussions with the colleagues from Europe. We were talking about what have changed during the last few years, and what we came to is really the changing importance of such factors as time. And I would say this is a great change. We started discussing this topic at these awards, and also we've been talking about importance of time with the customers here locally and in Europe. And it looks like that during the pandemic, a lot of customers, a lot of people actually have rethought the value of their own time, both professionally and personally. And companies are starting to recognize this importance and cater to that need. And that means changing a lot of things, changing products, getting rid of unnecessary things and concentrating on important ones, getting rid of unwanted service, unwanted calls, unwanted emails, messages, etc. So, and a lot of cases that we have been judging this year are really devoted to rethinking the whole process of communication and interacting with customer, and actually doing it easier, like Ned was saying, easier and simpler for the customer. So it's really about getting rid of everything that is not vital, that we both can live without, and we just take out this unnecessary cost and concentrate on what really matters for the customer. So I see it here locally with the local clients. I see it globally by judging the cases, and I would say that's probably a global trend. And maybe Dharmendra would add on this what he sees from his part of the world.
That's beautiful. Before proceeding further to Mr. Rai, if I can add, I mean, what Olga really means in a layman's language, we must have seen, the Jobs movies. When he was removed from Apple, and when he came back, he removed, like, I guess, hundreds of products, and he just focused on, like, I mean, tens that he wants, like 4 actually. Yeah. So he wanted to do it. I mean, he wanted to be specific, and he knows where to target and what to do and what not to do precisely. We had a discussion when Mr. I and me had a discussion. We also came to a conclusion. It's not important, like, you understand what to do. First of all, just get some points at what not to do. And that's where the, journey of success starts for an organization. So over to you, Mr. Rai, to continue this.
Okay. I keep on thinking of something positive to say, because plenty of people think I'm Dr. Doom or Dr. Negative. So, but I have to tell you what I feel and what is backed by research. So I'm going to say something which is not going to be complimentary to how some companies have responded in the pandemic. I have been checking out restaurants at the top end of the market. I have been checking out restaurants operating in national as well as international hotel chains. Okay, now I am a customer. If I am going to the Hilton, or I'm going to the Taj, or I'm going to any 5-star or 6-star hotel, as a customer, my expectations remain the same, right? Whether there's a crisis like COVID, and in India, we've had a crisis called GST. We've had a crisis called demonetization. So we've been through those crises. Companies know that crises are going to happen every now and then. It's just something that you should anticipate. If they don't happen, great. If they do happen, that is one of the greatest opportunities to stand out. Right? If there's a crisis and everybody else is running around like headless chicken, and you are saying, hey, my level of service is the same, or in fact, it has been enhanced, then I would definitely feel like continuing buying from that brand when the pandemic is over, or when any crisis is over, rather than any other brand. Right? So the pandemic is a specific thing, but I think people have to they have to do a theme extraction. They have to look at it in an objective way as, okay, it's a pandemic, but it's a crisis. And we've got to have a standard operating procedure as to when a crisis takes place. For example, if you visit, I'm sure this applies to all of you, if you visit the 5-star hotels in your towns, you will see that from outside, they don't look very special. It looks like the outside of these hotels has not been maintained, because they're cutting costs. Now, you're a publicly limited company. You can raise money. The IPO market is booming. this is the wrong time to cut costs on such things. Because if I'm going to place and I see that, okay, the service is great and the interiors are great, but the exteriors look shabby and you're a 5-star hotel, you can't afford to have an exterior that looks shabby, you really lost out on a great brand building opportunity. And you won't have too many such options to impress people because prices are far and few in between. And when you have that opportunity, if you don't grab it, what's the point?
No, that's with an example. That's classic Mr. Rai's style. He always puts things in perspective with a bang on example. Talking about let's keep, because in the topic itself we are talking about developed and developing and underdeveloped countries. I know we all are out of underdeveloped countries, but we have heard and we read everywhere what's going on around there. From the standpoint of customer experience, we'll also understand in terms of marketing, but from the standpoint of customer experience, as we all are in different continents right now, except me and Rai, we are sharing the same country right now in India. But if I'll start this with Olga. Olga, what do you think is the difference between a developed and underdeveloped and a developing country in terms of their approach to a customer experience?
Well, thank you very much. It's actually a very good question. A while ago, I wrote an article on this subject on CXPA blog. And actually, in my view, I think that the biggest difference is that the countries with the mature CX culture, if I'm allowed to say so, the companies have been doing that for quite a long. They do have mature systems managing customer experience. They have technologies, people are trained, and actually customers are expecting the certain level of customer experience. So it's coming to a systematic stage. And both for the customers and for the companies, I would say that the majority of burning problems are already solved. So there is a phase for fine-tuning, for finding little improvements that still can be done to improve customer experience that in general is already very good. What is happening in the countries who are more in the early development stage is that generically the quality of customer experience is very different. So it could be very high. I mean, even like a small business who is really taking good care of their customers, and you can be amazed how friendly people are, how well it's managed, etc. And at the same time, next door, you could see the horrible customer experience. I don't know, dirty place, rude staff, etc. In general, the companies could think and intuitively understand that customer experience is important, but they don't really have rules, they don't have system how to implement it in a systematic way. And companies are quite skeptical. What to do, when to do so, they're kind of testing the water. Let's try this, let's try that. They don't have a system how to do it, how to set up the priorities, and probably most importantly, how to measure success. What they do is like little chaotic movements. Let's try here, let's try there. But what differentiates the mature economies that they are really keen on measuring the return on investment. They know where to invest, when to invest, and how to invest so that it brings value both for the customers and for the business. So for me, that's the biggest difference.
Is it because the market around the organization, or is it because of the mindset of the founders or the board members and the investors in the organization?
In my view, everything has its influence. The mindset of the owner, you can be in a very immature economy, but I mean, these technologies, the frameworks, and you just implement it within your own company. You don't really need to be on a global scale to do that. It could be within a very specific business segment. For example, the companies who work with very affluent customers, they've learned to do it hard way. Otherwise, they wouldn't be in this business, like luxury real estate, yacht rental, private banking. These industries, I guess, in all countries, even in developing countries, they know very well how to work with the customers because their customers are very requiramental. Yeah, and And last but not least, it's really like the influence of other industries and other businesses, because customers are not looking industry by industry. They're comparing the experience of buying a cup of coffee with the experience of opening an account in a bank or going to a hospital. So customers are really comparing the experience from their daily experience, not by like I should compare a bank to a bank. No.
No, that's right. That's right. Nate, if I can ask you the same question, but in a different way, do you think that the underdeveloped countries really need customer experience, or are they even? I mean, are the customers even looking for customer experience?
Oh, it's an interesting question. And Olga, love your answer. A lot of great insights into that. I feel like there's kind of been this mindset where in the area of CX, it's been America. And then for each other country, they're like a number of years behind. And there's even a scale that's been published. UK is like 2 years. China is like 5 years. Middle East is 3 years, et cetera, et cetera. So it's almost like this idea that America is leading the way in the area of customer experience and these other countries are looking to catch up. I don't think that's true anymore at all. I believe that in America, we've dropped the ball greatly in terms of what great CX should look like. And we've made so many mistakes. And I believe the most recent of which is over automating everything and losing the personalization of the customer experience in that. And a lot of developing countries and non-developing countries, countries that are seeking this path of customer experience, they're seeing that, and they're recognizing that American customers are not responding well in the form of loyalty and not having to make the same mistakes that many of us have made as we've tried to pave the way here. So I think it's a level playing field out there for a lot of us. And to your question, absolutely, this matters in any country that you're going to be living inside of. Understanding the mentality of your customer and being able to guide them to loyalty, that is going to be relevant no matter what type of industry you're in, what country you're headquartered in. This is work that has to be done. Now, are the loyalty drivers going to be different? Absolutely. Now, I did a survey on LinkedIn a few weeks ago where I asked, what matters most to you in terms of customer loyalty? Is it price, value? Is it consistent good service? Is it like the values and missions of the organization? Or is it your personal relationship to the brand? 70% of people said it was good, consistent service that makes them really loyal. We had another 10% that said it's like the mission and values of the organization. People want to contribute to organizations that are doing things in the community that they care about, where their core values resonate and are in harmony with the core values of that organization. I think we're going to see that more and more become a primary loyalty driver. But if we look at what matters most in many other, especially developing countries, that price and value is going to be more important. You have limited resources and you've got to get it right. There has to be consistent delivery of value in order for us to trust that company and to reciprocate with our loyalty. Somehow in America right now, that doesn't matter as much. And only 5% of people indicated that that was their most significant loyalty driver. So the question is, where is the state of mind of your customer? Are you able to understand them? Are you able to listen to them? And don't make assumptions about what they need, because maybe it is, wow, they just want to really know that you as an organization, you're serving the world well. You're serving the community really well. And therefore I can trust you. I can reward you with my loyalty. Maybe it's all about the product for your group of customers. You need to know that, because that's going to look very different in terms of how you design that experience.
That's okay. That's pretty hard and beautiful again. Mr. Rai, if I can, again, same question, but a different way. We are in India, great customer base for everyone. I mean, we can see it for like every platform that you see. Even for Netflix now, it understand, if the series and movies running in India, I mean, it's gonna be a great profitable deal. Mr. Rai, in terms of customer experience, are we seeing companies moving towards it more and more, especially the startups that are coming in the way? I mean, if I talk about like a giant like Reliance, do you think it is more customer centric, or a startup like Zomato is more customer centric? What do you think in that sense?
Customer centricity, are you are you looking at that from the viewpoint of an undeveloped market, or are you talking about customer centricity in general?
No, not in general, actually. A country which is still developing and has a great customer base. So from that reference, I really want to understand your view on that.
Yeah. So I have been observing that again. I get paid for negative thinking, so that's my default mode of thinking. I have observed big brands coming into a developed country like India and thinking, hey, we are a huge brand. Everybody out there is just waiting to sell his house and buy our product. So there are a bunch of suckers out there. Let's just go blow them away. I'm going to give you a concrete example. So you're welcome to challenge me anytime. And I have 3 examples. So you can stop me if you think I'm speaking for too long. The first one is something that I discovered when I interviewed the executive director of Hindustan Unilever, Mr. Sudhir Sitapati. Okay, he is now the chief executive of one of the Godrej consumer companies. But when I met him, he was with Unilever, and I just love Unilever. I think it's one of the smartest companies in the world on a consistent basis. So I really love Unilever, and Lever is big in tea, and they started selling tea in sachets. So they thought we'd have this big tea packet, and maybe the medium income group and a high income group can buy this, and you sell small sachets to people who have a low income group, who have a low income. And after some time, they are very numbers oriented. They're like complete, all Lever employees are like robots. They're just totally numbers oriented. So they looked at the numbers and they found out that those sachets were not selling. I said, what's going on? These people are consuming tea. We have one of the best brands, or the best brand. We have one of the best distribution networks. So it's proved that Unilever has the best distribution network in India. They reach where Google and Facebook don't reach. So that's how powerful they are. And the conclusion they came to was that the quality of ingredients in that sachet was not the same as the quality and the mix of ingredients in the big packets. So maybe, now we don't know why, I don't know why this happened. Was it a mistake, or was there a deliberate thinking that, oh, these are small sachets, right? The low income guys are going to drink this, right? So they should be happy they're getting tea from us in the first place. But they got a resounding slap from those consumers for treating them badly. They want strong tea. Normally, the lower income guy is the guy who's doing a lot of hard work, and he needs strong tea. He needs strong tannin and caffeine content in his drink. Whether it's cheap or expensive is secondary. So if you're going to give him a sachet and it's not strong, he doesn't care how big a brand you are. He's going to reject it. So one of the biggest mistakes that big brands make in developed markets is they think that we're a big brand and we can just steamroll these guys into buying our product. No, there is no substitute to hard work and customization and keeping an ear to the ground and constantly checking as to how your product is being received.
Okay, that's again beautiful. I mean, again, because we are using the keyword customer a lot here, just to put it in numbers perspective. Customer-centric companies around the globe, if I talk, there's an article on Google that I read just today itself. They make 60% more profit than companies that doesn't focus on customers, and that's really a fact. When Nate and I had a discussion, I guess Nate, I shared this story that when my way, Mr. Rai and Olga, if you can have ears to this, it's a 1-minute story. When I travel back to my place, there's a taco kiosk on the way. So I used to buy taco. I really love it. But in an Indian way, tacos sounds and looks very different. So I just got it from him. And on the package, there was a thank you note with a smiley. I make sure that whenever I go, if I want to eat, like I eat taco 8 times in a week. So whenever I go there, I make sure that I buy it. And even if it's not good, I tend to go there and give them a review that, hey, the sauce was heavy, or, something, the covering was not crunchy, or something, some review if I have any. But I end up going there daily. That thank you it made me feel special as a customer. And it's a very small thing, the way Olga said, and the way Nate said, it doesn't matter where you are, your country, scale of business. Is it the board's maturity? Is it the surroundings maturity? Is it the customer's maturity? It's also the value creation that comes into the picture, whether your product is good or your service is good. So that also makes great sense to me. If we talk about now, we are talking about all of this from a 10,000 level. If we can be specific, and I want everyone to contribute with few strategies in this. My generic question to everyone is, and I want anyone to start on this, what are the new strategies that help organizations stand strong even in this pandemic, and how they were able to drive the marketing across the industries? Now, this doesn't just include customer experience. This also includes incorporation of marketing, the storytelling art, and everything. So I want to understand the strategies that you think that organizations adopt.
Yeah, I'll jump in on that. I believe that it very much begins inside of the house in terms of protecting and galvanizing your employees first. They are the ones ultimately serving your customers. And that is oftentimes overlooked or not respected to the degree that it must be in terms of your overall experience design. Our work as CX professionals is expanding into a wonderful and exciting place where we are now brand experience, we are now digital experience, and very much we are about the employee experience. So you want a specific strategy. You can't do that by yourself. It's impossible for Nate Brown or even Olga, as brilliant and amazing as she is. She cannot do this work by herself. So we have to collect a coalition around us of leaders inside of the organization and just people, people that care about the customer, that care about each other. We have to bring those individuals together to help drive a different culture inside of the business. Culture is just the way we do things. It's the way we think. It's the way we behave towards our customers. So we have to start that evolution of culture inside of the business with our own people, and then it will translate outward to the actual experience that the customer is having. So, that is where this work begins, in my opinion.
All right. Over to Olga.
Yeah, I would actually build on what, again, Nate have said, and what we as consultants have seen by working with many quite large and smaller businesses across the country is that a lot of companies came to realization that really business is about people, as banal as it sounds, that your staff is not just staff and units in the organizational diagram, but these are live persons who have dogs, cats, kids. And when the pandemic hit, it became, twice more important, because if you have everyone sitting in one big room and you can control those people physically, but then when people are distributed, you cannot do that. So instead of control, you need to have other instruments to bring people together and really take care of them. And it became obvious that technology is vital to be successful. But just the technology itself is not enough. It's really about enabling people with the technology, but you need to have right people, and you need to have a good alignment between different departments. You need to have common goals. And a lot of companies came to realization that they basically have two treasures: employees and customers. And it's not about whether we are B2B or B2C or B2G business. We are age to age, we are people to people. And this change, this is a mindset change, but it brought a lot of very specific changes to the way the companies are doing business. Whom do they enable to make decisions? Because if you're a distributed organization, sometimes you really need to empower people to make decisions right here and now in front of the customer. And you cannot control how it happens. You need to delegate, you need to trust your people. And in order to trust, you need to make sure that people know what to do, that they're well trained, that they have enough skills, they have enough technologies to do what they do. And this sounds a little bit generic probably, but it brings to a very specific actions like training programs, technology updates, hiring programs, onboarding programs. A lot of these specific actions have changed because of this realization.
That's beautiful. Over to you, Ms. Rai.
So two specific things about change in strategies, or may not be strategies, you could call it change in tactics. Now, one was again with reference to five-star hotels. I just read some stuff today which said that the home delivery business of five-star hotels, I don't think that they did home delivery before the pandemic, or I don't think they did it at a very large scale before the pandemic, because maybe there is a non-premium feeling to food that's delivered at home. Maybe that could be one thing, because they want you to really come into their restaurants and get affected by the physical environment of the restaurant, and then justify the high charges that they get from you. So that was one thing. It's according to the recent reports on that, there has this transition from no food delivery from five-star hotels. That has totally changed. They are doing it, and they're doing it in a very good way. And I think they're getting a good pricing for it. So that is something that definitely wasn't there before the pandemic. Ordering from a five-star hotel to your house, I think you would have to really hustle your way to get that done. But it is a service. I think it's available on their platforms as well as on Swiggy and Zomato. So that's one thing. And the second is in relation to vaccines. And I'm really at a total loss to understand why more changes couldn't be done. So the one way in which you get a vaccine is you go to a hospital and you get the vaccine. And you go on foot. Even if you have no legs, you're still supposed to move your wheelchair around in a country which is not very wheelchair friendly. And then you got to go with somebody else because you can't go alone if you are very old or if you are disabled. So there was one small tweak to that, and they had, in Mumbai, I know at least one center where you can get vaccinated by driving in. Okay, just like you have a McDonald's drive-in, you can literally sit in your car and get vaccinated and then drive off. So that was a change. You could call it a change in tactic or a strategy that was there. But I'm very disappointed that the very, very powerful pharmaceutical lobby did not push for allowing vaccinations to be done at home. I'm completely puzzled as to why that did not happen, because if you are sick and you can't move out of your house, you call up a doctor and he makes a house visit, and you're happy to pay more because he's giving you an extra service. So why couldn't the same thing be done with a vaccine? I think it's an absolute failure of the pharmaceutical lobby to not convince them, because as it is, on one hand, there are some vaccination centers where there are so many people that there is a stampede and people have either died or been badly injured. On the other hand, there are vaccine centers where there are not too many people. So to even out this demand, this would have, in my view, been easily done, and it would have benefited everybody. A good step or a good company is somebody that takes care of everybody, where everybody is satisfied. Because the company makes profits, people benefit, the government benefits, and that would have been the ideal thing. So that was a no-brainer, and it's a big failure.
Again, that's classic Mr. Rai with again 2 examples on board for the session. That's again beautiful. What I want to add, if I can, of course, you all are great. You all have great experience. You all are authors. I'm no one to put something, but still, from my standpoint, what I have seen, organizations from inside, or incorporating all the new tactics and value creation, the way Nate said, starts from the house itself, the way Olga said, upgrading the systems and training and everything, the way Mr. Rai said, it's also about the flexibility and adopting new practices very eagerly and very early. It also, I mean, retainment of all these strategies is also important. I mean, it's not that if the pandemic goes, then we forget about the strategies, and we move on with the classic or the old school way. Then I mean, there's no point of creating any value around your customer, around your product, or anything. So that's my take on this. I didn't really wanted to go it in vain. If we can have a small discussion around marketing it as well. I mean, how do you guys see marketing getting changed in a sense that now it's all about storytelling, right? So because in States and in Russia and in India, I'm not sure what's going on right there in States and Russia. I believe it's the same thing that's going on here, because customers are getting really smart nowadays. So it's all about, in last podcast we had a former managing director of Sony Entertainment. So he said that in 2006 they had, I'm not sure if you guys have seen it, they had a commercial where they were all colors. They were all colors on the LEDs and everything. And then at last they were just Sony. That's it. So the brand comes last. The experience comes first. That was their upfront campaign that they. And he said that didn't work out that well. However, now organizations are doing that. Do you think the classic way of marketing, I mean, you approach the individuals, you tell them the benefits, and you do your own circus in front of your customer and you convert them, or you run a generic campaign on Facebook or Google or Instagram, you get the customers? Do you think this is the right way, or do you think the storytelling is the right way for a customer? And which one is really authentic in terms of making them understand which product is good for them or not? I know it's a very big question, but yeah, I had this with me.
Yeah, so there are various ways. You have to look at the product or service you're selling, and you got to look at the target market. If you have a product or service where you have an obvious benefit over somebody else, let's say if you were Paytm at the time of the demonetization in India, plenty of people had only heard about Paytm. They had not heard of any other digital payment platform, in which case Paytm had a clear benefit. And again, I think they could have done much more. If I was Paytm, I would have spent 100 crores on advertising right there and then during demonetization. I would have recruited 10,000 people, 10,000 students, and just got them to get people to enroll on Paytm and to train people how to pay using Paytm. But the thing is, they had that product, which was a near monopoly, and it is very easy to sell it, right? All you had to do was say, look, you can't use cash. By and large, you can't use cash because you don't have cash. You can use only digital payments, and you don't have a digital payment provider. So here is the digital payment option that I'm offering you. It was as simple as that. So in that case, you just have to, you would just waste your time if you did something extra creative like storytelling or anything else. Or you just have to appeal to rationale and say, look, you can't make payments now. I can help you make payments. Yeah, just get it done. And I send a representative to, you want to do it on the phone, you need help on the phone, you need help online. If you're old, you need somebody to visit your house and tell you how to do it. That's it. So it would just be a rational explanation. You wouldn't require anything else. So I'm sure they did something, but I don't think they did anything that was as deep as they could have done. The advantage they could have taken during the demonetization. And classic, you got to be classic is very general. Use the word classic. So classic marketing has lots of problems, right? Philip Kotler was great, but plenty of his theories were not backed by research because we didn't have any high quality research then. So the new Philip Kotler is Byron Sharp. Okay, this is just a cover. The book is in the other room. Okay, so this is How Brands Grow by Byron Sharp, and it's part 2 because it's got emerging markets in part 2 as well. So as you can see, I do a lot of research and I never show off. So, okay, so you spoke about loyalty. Now, according to Byron Sharp, with good evidence, there's no great loyalty. Okay, there is a concept called hot empathy and cold empathy, right? If you are sad and I can get that feeling too when I become sad, then it's hot empathy. But if you are sad and I know you're sad, but I'm not sad because of that, then it's called cold empathy. Okay, so similarly, I want to split up loyalty into hot loyalty and cold loyalty. Right, so you went to that taco place and you're saying you're loyal. Well, was there a competitor next to that restaurant?
Yeah, there was. I used to have it from the other one. Yeah.
Okay, and you didn't go there?
No, I don't go there now.
Okay.
He doesn't give me a thank you note.
Yeah, okay.
Hot loyalty.
Okay, so you have what I would term as cold loyalty. The minute they offer you something extra or they put up some bells and whistles, then you personally may not go, but generally out of 100 people, 90 to 95% of people would go there if they feel that in the long term they're being better served there. So loyalty is overrated. The focus on consumers who are heavy consumers is totally overrated. You should not be spending a huge amount of money on your biggest customers because they're not your biggest customers because of loyalty. They're there because obviously you're doing a good job with the brand, but then if they get another option, they're going to buy it. And most of the big buyers also use other brands. It's not that they use only your brand. So fine, keep them happy, but don't give them wine every day.
Oh, very
So that's
interesting.
anti-classic marketing.
And I certainly agree that traditional marketing has a lot of holes in it. And I think that we've evolved significantly in our ability to have a great and healthy overlap between marketing and customer experience. The way I like to think about it, marketing is forming a brand promise. They are making a promise to the world. This is what we're going to do for you. And that is a promise. This is why our organization exists. We're going to do this for you. It is customer experience that gets to make that a reality. So either you're making the customer believe this promise that you've made, or you're going to turn the organization into a liar. You're not able to fulfill that brand promise. We used to have such a silo between marketing and CX. I mean, they were just completely different organizations, but now, I mean, these two things are coming together, realizing that they're very dependent on one another. Denise Leon, in my opinion, is the greatest resource on this topic. She's brilliant. And I'm going to read a quote from her real quick from Fusion. Customers are more savvy today. They see advertising rhetoric for what it is. They no longer accept brands at face value. They are skeptical about the claims that companies make. They want authenticity, brands that live up to their promises and stated ideals. So I mean, there's a lot in there. First of all, brands are having to state ideals. This is who we are. This is how we're going to serve you, customer. And then we have to back that up through good, consistent experiences and people that can deliver those experiences. I personally don't believe that loyalty is as fickle as what was described by Mr. Rai personally. And the research that I've been in would not constitute that perception. But I definitely recognize that. And I think the truth will be told very soon as the experience economy continues to grow and people are able to make their decisions based on what matters to them the most. Their money is going to follow their heart. So, I mean, loyalty is going to be rooted in things that really, really matter to them. And I think it's this idea of mission-driven CX. Companies that have earned our trust, earned our loyalty by delivering well on their stated ideals and promises. Those are the brands that will continue to gobble up market share and have a real future in this economy.
That's beautiful. Before we proceed to Olga, if I can add something, because I found a loophole in it. So you generate a good customer experience and then you market the good customer experience to create new customer experience. I mean, I guess that's how the cycle really works. Finally, I understood it today. All right, over to you, Olga.
Yes, I just wanted to say that basically I'm a marketer by nature. I got the classical marketing education. I was like, Philip Kotler's book was my Bible when I was getting my MBA in the States.
Amazing.
And actually, I've been watching the evolution of marketing for those more than 20 years that I'm working. And I see that marketing have evolved from a traditional, what's a traditional understanding of marketing? There was a very famous saying among us marketers saying that if a customer knocked on your door and called you by the name, marketing have done their job. So this mantra is no longer valid. Because if marketing have promised something CX cannot deliver, then it's a disaster for the company. And marketing really had to evolve of being more than it used to be. It needs to be much more integrated, and the good marketing have evolved, it converged with the strategic planning, because really the company needs to decide on a very high strategic level what it is about, what kind of product it want to build, what exactly is customer promise. And now there is a very thin line between marketing and CX, because good CX is also built on company values, and it actually translates the brand promise, and marketing is really helping to communicate it externally. So it's really about working together, and there is a very thin line now between where is marketing finishing and where CX is starting. In a good world, they work together to build this customer promise and efficiently communicate it to the world, and then work with operations to deliver it, and customer support and service to fix any issues if they can arise. And only in this case, marketing is efficient and you can build customer loyalty. So it all boils down together. And it means that all functions need to work together to make this happen. It's not just marketing is here and CX is here. And yes, marketing has it's like the part of work on their own, for example, the communication part, and it also have evolved greatly in last 20 years. You can see this grow in technologies, like myriads of new services, new opportunities. You cannot just be low tech and do good marketing. You need to know targeting, you need to know social media, you need to know all these automatic funnels, and this is just a part of our reality. But if marketing is really, if it's really good marketing, it serves the overall purpose of building the proper brand promise and delivering it in consistent, clear, and ecological way to the customer. And in this way, marketing is as important as it used to be 20 years before, or probably even more important because there is more competition. And actually talking about Philip Kotler, I'm just now participating in a global project supported by Philip Kotler and his foundation that's called MRI 300, and it's a research of the level, global research of the level of customer centricity of the companies. And it's not a surprise that Philip Kotler's foundation is supporting this project, because marketing fully recognizes the importance of customer centricity and customer centric cultures. And for me, this is the best proof that it's really about working together and really fulfilling, like building this bright brand promise and fulfilling it together, marketing and CX.
Oh, that's again really beautiful. I mean, it's very well put, Olga. We are at the very end of the session, but before we, put a full stop to this, I want to have, sort of a ending note from each one of you to summarize this topic. Because we have touched down to everything. We have touched down to everything, but what we haven't touched down to is the basic difference between developed, underdeveloped, and developing countries in their mindset. Because I understand it's a very large topic. We may sit here for 10 hours and still we will leave some points to discuss on it. But at large, if we can put some ending note to this, to justify the topic, that would be wonderful. We'll start with Nate.
Yeah, so I think that the importance here is understanding the people that you're serving. So, I mean, CX is relevant in any country, including the underdeveloped countries. That there's not this concept of organizations trying to catch up to the baseline where America was 5 years ago. And let's excuse ourselves from those assumptions. Now it's all about understanding the hearts and minds of your customers. So your first step, whether you're in an underdeveloped country or not, is to develop your voice of customer engine, to use a Gene Bliss-ism, to have strong awareness, a 360-degree view of who your customer is and what matters most to them. Out of that will flow your experience design. So it's probably going to be really focused on maximizing value, which is where this whole customer success revolution has come in and taken over sales departments across America and all over the world. It's this idea of maximizing customer value and partnership. That's probably where you're going to find the greatest opportunity to really generate a strong CX foundation for you and for your organization. But my challenge to you would be, don't make any assumptions about it. Don't go read a book. Don't go read a blog and say, okay, here's step one. Don't listen to me even. I say step one is start with your employees and then develop a CX change coalition. No, step one is to understand your customers and what matters most to them so that you can ultimately design a good CX strategy that's going to make a difference and you can prove that ROI. The work of CX is tricky. It's very empirical. It's very qualitative and quantitative, and you're trying to marry these things together. It's very scientific and artistic. And it's really hard to pin down, here's how I improve the lives of my customers. But we have to. And by establishing that voice of customer engine in the beginning, before you make big changes, you can show the difference that those changes made. You can quantify those and earn the right to continue to do this work. If you don't have that baseline in the beginning, you might do some great things and ultimately never get credit for them or never understand if you were able to improve or ultimately maybe even deprove the customer experience based on the changes that you made. And Mr. Rai gave some phenomenal examples of organizations, even big ones, smart ones, that made assumptions about their customer base and ultimately paid a high price of ignorance for those assumptions. So let's get really good at voice of customer and ground our CX strategy in intelligence.
Over to you, Mr. Rai.
Yeah, we are lucky we have this recent August copy of The Economist, which in my view is the best magazine in the world, the most researched, the least biased magazine in the world. And it talks about your topic, emerging markets. It says, dashed hopes, emerging markets growth problem. Okay, I'm just going to read 3 lines from there. He's talked about problems in all emerging countries that you can think of. Today, South Africa is reeling from an insurrection. Colombia has suffered violent protests. Tunisia faces a constitutional crisis. Peru has sworn in a Marxist government. Independent institutions are under attack in Brazil, India, and Mexico. So, emerging markets makes marketing all the more tougher. First of all, marketing is very, very tough. It's incredibly complex. Plenty of chief executives and plenty of chief marketing officers and chief sales officers and chief service officers do not understand marketing to the extent that they think they do, and they should definitely feel insecure about that. Otherwise, they won't learn. And on top of that, if you add it to emerging markets, your problems just got complex by a scale of 1,000. Okay, because then there's the big morass of problems that comes with emerging markets. So it's really, it's a very complicated world out there. Marketing is very complicated. If you add emerging markets, you're making it more complicated. So be afraid, be very afraid. As that's a fantastic dialogue from a movie called The Fly.
Oh, that's wonderful. Over to you, Olga.
You know what? I just wanted to say that we should be very careful about when we speak about emerging and mature markets, because come on, look, we are global. And the pandemic has just shown us that the world is just 2 clicks away. Moscow, which is 4 hours by train from me, I'm based in St. Petersburg, is as far away as Tokyo or Kuala Lumpur or Sydney. And just let's face the reality. We are surrounded now by global products. We have, I don't know, I'm just sitting here. I have my cell phone is from the Asian part of the world. My lipstick is from UK. I'm using Zoom. I'm using Acer that have been produced probably somewhere in Thailand. We are using a lot of products, services that come from global sources. And the same with the customers. Can we say that Zoom is an American company, or is it the global one? Is it working in mature market or in emerging market? It works everywhere. Google, again, they work everywhere in every single market. Yes, they need to take into consideration the differences between market, the cultural, economical, political, and all the differences that can exist. And the same with the customers. We are getting more and more global, and brands needs to recognize that, and they do recognize it. So when we talk about these emerging experiences or mature experiences, that's the way to phrase it. It's probably more relevant to talk about mature experiences or developing experiences, but not really developed by economies. Because really it could happen that in a country that we would traditionally consider an emerging one, there is a very high-tech company, and we have loads of examples in IT world, right? And they show excellent quality of service, excellent product, and they're really jumping into the future, while some traditional economies show not the best examples in hospitality, in, I don't know, car manufacturing or any other industries that you would traditionally consider very mature, but all of a sudden you see very immature behavior towards customers. So it's really about thinking globally and applying the good customer centricity principles, irrespective of where you are in, but just taking into consideration who your customer is and what he or she wants.
Oh, that's again, I mean, if I have to reiterate myself here, the reason why I said that we cannot expect any better panel than this, it was this reason. I mean, there was just a single question. We had 3 great point of views from 3 different angles, and all of them make great sense to me. I'm feeling sort of a noob here, but all right, great. We don't have more time viewers with us, but I mean, we will be having all of them again with us, and all of them, you can see and have a chit chat with them. Hopefully, I'll put their not sort of contact details, but the LinkedIn IDs right there in the description. We'll also put their individual videos in the I buttons and in the description, so you can understand more about Nate Brown, Olga Guseva, and Mr. Dharmendra, and understand their journey so far. And at last, I'd like to thank you all. Thank you very much for sharing such great insights with us in terms of the topic wholly and solely. And we of course look forward to having this chat with you, such great chat with you again in the future on other trending topics in the international business industry. And to acknowledge the viewers, if you like this chat with Nate Brown, Olga Guseva, and Mr. I want you to like this video, share this video, and of course subscribe to ClickAway Creators YouTube channel to appreciate what we do. And you have more coming in from industry leaders, from all of like them. This was Sagar for BizzTalk World. Thank you for joining us. Signing off.